Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Now, to keep up with all of this, I did quite a few media appearances this past week. You got to keep up with those at Tarpley.net, Tarpley.net. As I said before, that basic program for dealing with the speculative attack on Italy, this sneak attack by the international sharks and hyenas, that's up on Luogo Comune in Italian, Max Mazzucco. Also in Italian on the website Chiare Lettere. The part called Cado in Piedi should soon, I believe, have a more elaborated form of that same program with motivation. And since we're in Italy, we might just recall that the Obama dietro la maschera, Obama behind the mask, worldwide golpismo, worldwide destabilization and coup under a Wall Street puppet. That's available from Fuoco Edizioni. So go to your bookshop and get them to order it and get them to have it available if you want to help out what I'm doing. And by the way, some news from Italy just in the past 24 hours. A group of opponents of the Libyan war are organizing a demonstration at the Italian Finance Ministry in Rome on August 30th. That's worth looking into. And there's word of a conference in Bologna on the 9th of November. And let me just add in what I was considering. This actually started with the considerations on Greece earlier in the week. It started essentially more or less at the same time that Italy was getting hit. Isn't it time to have a European-wide economic conference somewhere this year with the following general platform? It would be an anti-austerity conference. It would say that austerity is a failure. It cannot work. It does not work. Just one example. We're told now here in the Wall Street Journal that the Greek tax revenues are falling. Surprise, surprise. You have a draconian, genocidal austerity plan. That's exactly what they always do. We've known that since Heinrich Brüning in 1930 to 32. We've seen it with Schwarzenegger. We've seen it a million times, that when you cut the budget, you increase the deficit. They can't figure this out. Their people have a mental disability, I guess, a mental infirmity. They can't understand that when it's a government, it's not like your family. It's not like the kitchen table. And if you cut the budget this year, if your government spending is the only thing holding up the economy because the private sector has collapsed because of a bubble and a crash and a panic, then your tax revenues are falling. That's what the Wall Street Journal reported this week about Greece. So austerity doesn't work. So the conference would be anti-austerity, anti-derivatives, that you've got to find ways to fight derivatives. Ban some, tax others, ban all, tax all. You can discuss that. There are various ways. You've got to have a position against the overweening political power of zombie banks and hedge fund hyenas. It is too much. A rejection of neoliberal economics, a rejection of the insanity of the Austrian school and the Chicago school. And I would say the hope that the first option is the attempt to reform and transform the euro from within by breaking the power of the European Central Bank, making that into a European bank in the sense that in the United States it would be a Hamiltonian national bank. It would become the Bank of Europe, not the European Central Bank, and its main purpose would be to issue 0% euro credits for production, infrastructure, and trade, with the built-in goal, right in the statute and the constitution of the bank. The goal immediately is 40 million new jobs across Europe at union wages and productive jobs, not green jobs, not ditch digging jobs, not leaf raking, but high capital intensity, high value added. Isn't it time for such a thing to go on? I would suggest that a conference like this could be conducted in honor of two major economists who need to be more understood. W.S. Wojtyński from Russia to Germany, This is the guy who put together the WTB, the Voitinsky-Tarnow-Bada plan of the German trade unions in 1931 to 32. It called for several billion marks to be spent on infrastructure. It could have stopped Hitler. Another person at the same time, coming from a different background, Lautenbach, Wilhelm Lautenbach of the Friedrich List Society, gave that famous paper right after the British default of September 1931, where he said basically the same thing, that as long as the central bank can be forced to support the banks, you can discount the bonds that are needed for huge infrastructure. Suppose you had built the Autobahn under the democratic regime of Weimar when it was still there. No Hitler, because you would have soaked up the unemployment and fought the despair that were the basis of Hitler's seizure of power. So the Voitinsky-Lautenbach conference, this is also to appeal to the Germans to wake up from their dogmatic slumbers and stop with this the narrow-minded stuff, right? The Kleinstaaterei and the Engstirnigkeit, right? The little country and narrow-minded stuff, the petty bourgeois rebellion. You got to take responsibility for the whole of Europe inside the world economy and not just focus on my money, because that gets you nowhere. With that, you're going to lose your money. You won't have any money left. So Italy should not pass austerity. The Italian austerity plan is useless and destructive. We're told it's 99 billion euros over 3 years. Tremonti, what are you thinking? You're in delirium. We're told that this is going to mean sacrifices of 1,000 euros per family for everybody in Italy. Every Italian family gets to pay 1,000 euros. For what? For J.P. Morgan, for Goldman Sachs, for Barclays Bank, and so forth. The Italian bonds are now 3% interest rate premium for an Italian bond over a German Bund. Well, the answer is not austerity. It gets you nowhere. You cannot placate a market when the market is a criminal conspiracy to bring you down. So appeasement doesn't work, right? Chamberlain tried it, didn't work. You can't appease Goldman Sachs and JPM any more than you could some military aggressor coming at you. Ban credit default swaps, ban naked shorts, and essentially raid the agencies. Now, Greece, here we're told that the European finance ministers now agree that a Greek default is probably inevitable, that Greek debt is unsustainable. 160% of GDP is where it's headed. It won't work. And we're told that the Netherlands finance minister, De Kies de Jager, says that an orderly default is no longer excluded. Well, then, Greeks, time to take your destiny in your own hands, and you don't just sit there and let them dictate. And I would say this also to Ireland. If you have been labeled junk, right, Greece and Ireland are now junk, that means you cannot borrow. So what more can the bond market do to you? They've cut you off. They cut you off. You cut them off. Time to retaliate. That's called a debt moratorium, a debt freeze. And you can do it on a selective basis. How about this? Do it for all derivatives. Just say, we are cutting off, we're freezing and stopping all payments on international financial derivatives of any kind, including the ones that are used for commodity speculation. So a clean break. Where did we hear that before? Anyway, a clean break. The debt moratorium for Greece. Don't let the jackals and hyenas decide how much of your flesh they're going to take. You've got to assert your position, which is that the debt is illegitimate. Don't pay it. Use the debt bomb, as they said back in the Latin American countries in the 1980s. La bomba de deuda is the thing that you've got to play at this point. Now, we'll have to look now at the U.S. default situation here. Back in a minute.